The glass crunched like frozen bells beneath my boots. Every step sang a crystalline note that carried across the empty dunes and down into the translucent depths below. I froze mid-stride, boot hovering above the surface, and watched the shadow move. 30 meters down, coiling through compressed sand visible through layers of shattered silica, the serpent turned its wedge-shaped head toward the sound. The power cell strapped to my pack blinked once, blue light pulsing in the corner of my vision, and I held my breath until my lungs burned. The creature drifted past like a submarine beneath ice, and I counted to 60 before I dared to lower my foot. On a glass desert planet, every sound is a death sentence. I'd been a reconnaissance pilot for 6 years before the landing thrusters failed over Planet Echo. Solo missions, silent runs, the kind of work where you learn to move through sensor grids like a ghost. That training was the only reason I was still alive. The escape pod had punched through the atmosphere and skipped across the vitrified plain like a stone on water, leaving me with a broken transmitter, 8 kilometers from the extraction zone, and a deadline I couldn't miss. Rescue would arrive at sunset 1800 hours local time. After dark, the temperature would plummet 40 degrees in under an hour, and the thermal shock would spiderweb the entire desert into a cacophony of shattering glass. The serpent wouldn't be my only problem. The planet itself would scream. I checked the transmitter again, knowing it wouldn't help. The impact had cracked the housing and fried the primary relay. The screen flickered with corrupt data latitude and longitude scrambling into nonsense characters and died. I shoved it into my pack next to the water bottle, the emergency beacon that only worked on approach vectors the rescue ship already knew, and the power cell that kept everything running. 1800 hours. 4 hours to cross 8 kilometers of singing glass while something the size of a cargo hauler hunted me by sound alone. The crash site sat behind me like a scar on the landscape. The pod had torn a trench 200 meters long through the glass crust before coming to rest against a dune that probably saved my life. Black scorch marks radiated from the impact point, and thin columns of smoke still rose from the fried electronics inside. I'd grabbed what I could: the pack, the suit's spare oxygen cartridge, the sealed rations that tasted like cardboard soaked in regret, and left everything else. The pod's emergency locator beacon was active, pinging on the standard distress frequency, but it wouldn't do me any good out here. The rescue ship would home in on the extraction zone's navigation marker, not a crashed pod in the middle of nowhere. The wind picked up, carrying fine glass dust that glittered in the white sunlight. I waited for the gust to peak, then moved in rhythm with it, hoping the ambient noise would camouflage my footsteps. 3 steps. 5. 10. The wind held, and I made it 20 meters before the serpent breached. It came up like a missile, shattering through the crust 50 meters to my left. Sand and glass exploded outward in a cloud that caught the light and burned my retinas. The creature was 12 meters of translucent scales and muscle, its body refracting the sky into rainbows as it twisted in the air. Its head was all angles, no eyes that I could see, but a jaw that split vertically and horizontally into 4 mandibles lined with rows of crystalline teeth that looked like they'd been grown from the same mineral substrate as the desert itself. It crashed back down, and the impact sent a shockwave rippling through the ground. I felt it in my bones. Then it turned toward me. Not fast, not hunting, just aware. Its head swept back and forth in a pattern that reminded me of sonar arrays searching for a target lock, and I realized with cold certainty that it hadn't reacted to the wind, only to me, to the organic rhythm of my breathing, the faint scrape of fabric against fabric, the treacherous sounds that marked me as prey. The wind was irrelevant. Walking slowly was irrelevant. Any noise I made, the creature would find me. I didn't move. The serpent waited, head cocked at an angle that suggested curiosity more than hunger, and then sank back beneath the surface without a ripple. I watched the shadow descend and disappear into the deep sand, and I started counting my heartbeats. 112 per minute. Too fast. I forced my breathing to slow 4 counts in, hold, 6 counts out, and felt the hammering in my chest ease to something closer to 80. Better. Not good enough. The sun was a white disk directly overhead, and the heat was brutal. The glass amplified it, turning the desert into a convection oven that radiated from below and above simultaneously. My suit's climate control could only do so much. The internal temperature reading climbed to 38 degrees Celsius, and I felt sweat pooling at the small of my back. I needed water, but the thermal bottle had a pressure seal cap that would click when I opened it. I pulled it from my pack slowly, moving only when the wind gusted, and positioned my thumb on the release. The serpent was somewhere below, waiting. I pressed the button. The click was tiny, insignificant, a single mechanical sound lost in the vast silence of the desert. The shadow surged toward me like a torpedo, covering 30 meters in seconds. I froze with the bottle half open, water sloshing inside, and watched the creature rise to just beneath the surface. It stopped directly below me, head swaying in that same searching pattern, and I understood it wasn't reacting to the volume of the sound. It was reacting to the fact that I'd made it. My heart rate spiked, climbing past 120, and the serpent's head snapped up, mandibles opening. I could see down its throat, into the dark where bioluminescent patterns pulsed in rhythmic waves, blue-green light that flowed along its interior muscles. In time with what? I forced my hand steady and closed the bottle without drinking. My mouth was dry as sand, tongue sticking to the roof of my mouth, but I couldn't risk another sound. The serpent held position, and I could feel my pulse pounding in my ears, 120, 130, climbing fast with the adrenaline. The creature's head moved in small circles, tracking something, and then it hesitated, just for a moment. Its body language shifted from hunting to confusion. I didn't breathe, didn't think, didn't let myself hope. Then I saw the power cell. The blue cylinder was still strapped to the outside of my pack, blinking its low battery warning every 3 seconds. Standard equipment enough juice to charge a suit's systems 3 times over, or power an emergency shelter for 72 hours. But beneath the blink, there was a hum, a subsonic vibration I'd never noticed before because I'd never been this quiet. I counted the cycles. 60 per minute. The same frequency as a resting human heartbeat. As I watched, the serpent's head dipped toward my pack, mandibles twitching, and then pulled back as if uncertain. I reached back slowly, fingers finding the power switch, and turned it off. The hum died. The serpent's head stopped moving, reoriented to my chest, to the pounding of my terrified heart, and began to rise. I hit the ground flat, pressing my body into the glass hard enough that I felt the crystalline surface bite through the suit's padding. I forced every muscle to relax, starting with my jaw and working down through my shoulders, my core, my legs. I started the 4-count breath again. 4 in, hold, 6 out. I stared at the glass inches from my face and watched my reflection blur as my eyes watered. 4 in, hold, 6 out. The serpent's shadow loomed over me, blotting out the sun, and I felt the heat of its breath, or maybe just the displacement of air as those massive jaws opened wide enough to swallow me whole. My heart rate dropped. 90, 80, 75. The tactical meditation protocols they'd drilled into us during EVA training, the ones designed to prevent panic and decompression scenarios, kicked in like muscle memory. I wasn't in my body. I was watching from a distance, observing the girl on the glass who'd stopped being afraid because fear was a frequency the monster could hear. I counted my breaths, counted the space between heartbeats, became the silence. The serpent's head moved over me, mandibles brushing the air above my back. I felt the wind of its passage, smelled something like ozone and copper. It circled once, twice, 3 times. Each pass brought those jaws closer, testing, searching for the rhythmic pulse that would confirm I was prey. But my heart beat slow and steady now, 68 per minute, then 65, and the creature found no pattern to lock onto, no frequency to hunt. Finally, it sank back down and glided away toward the southern dunes, its shadow growing smaller until it vanished into the compressed sand layers. I stayed flat for another 5 minutes, counting my heartbeat 62, 60, 58, and then I got up and started walking. 4 kilometers to go. The sun was descending and I could already feel the temperature beginning to drop. The white disk had turned amber, then orange, bleeding color into the glass dunes until the whole landscape looked like it was on fire. By the time I'd covered another kilometer, the temperature had fallen 10 degrees, and I saw the first crack appear. It started as a hairline fracture 20 meters to my right, a dark thread splitting the translucent surface. Then it branched and branched again, spreading like lightning frozen in crystal. Each new split released a note high and pure and sharp enough to hurt. The sound carried for kilometers, echoing off distant dune faces, and I knew what was coming. The serpent breached 100 meters south, exploding from the sand in a shower of glass fragments. It twisted in the air, orienting on the sound, and dove toward the spreading crack. Its body hit the surface with enough force to shatter a 10-meter circle of crust, and the impact sent new cracks radiating outward in all directions. Each crack sang, and the serpent went after them all, thrashing through the glass like it was fighting an invisible enemy. I kept moving, trying to time my steps to the moments when the creature was distracted. But the temperature kept falling 15 degrees below peak now, then 18, and the cracks were spreading faster than I could avoid them. They cut across my path, forcing detours, adding distance I didn't have time for. Twice I had to jump over fissures that opened directly in front of me, and each landing sent shockwaves through the glass that brought the serpent's head snapping around. By the time I'd covered 3 of the 4 kilometers, the desert was fracturing in earnest. Whole dune faces collapsed into geometric shards, tumbling down in cascades that sounded like wind chimes the size of buildings. The serpent was everywhere, breaching, diving, attacking anything that moved or sang. I saw it tear through a collapsing dune and emerge on the far side with glass shards embedded in its scales, refracting the dying sunlight into 1,000 points of color. I ran. Not because I wanted to, because I had no choice. The cracks were spreading faster, cutting off routes, forcing me to detour around fresh chasms that opened with sounds like gunshots. Every step I took added to the chaos, and the serpent heard all of it. I saw its shadow beneath me, pacing me, matching my speed. The creature had figured out that I was the source, and it was hurting me, waiting for the moment when exhaustion or fear would make me stumble. The dune rose in front of me, a wall of compressed glass 30 meters high, its face smooth and steep. I hit it at full speed and scrambled up, boots slipping on the crystalline surface, fingers clawing for purchase. The serpent erupted behind me, jaws snapping shut on the space where I'd been a second before. I felt the wind of its passage, heard the grinding of those crystal teeth, and hauled myself over the crest using pure terror as fuel. I slid down the far side in a controlled fall, hit the bottom hard enough to knock the breath from my lungs, and rolled to a stop with my back against solid glass. I looked up to see the creature cresting the dune, silhouetted against the orange sky. 12 meters of muscle and hunger, translucent scales catching the light, mandibles spread wide. I heard my heart hammering at 140 per minute, heard it echoing in my skull like a drum, and the serpent heard it too. Its head lowered, focusing on me with that eyeless precision, and I knew I was out of time. The power cell, the hum, the hesitation. I tore the cylinder from my pack with shaking hands. The casing was warm from the day's heat, the blue indicator light still blinking its low battery warning. I looked at the settings panel on the base 3 modes: standard charge, rapid discharge, and emergency pulse. Emergency mode was designed to dump the entire charge in one continuous burst for jump-starting dead systems or sending a high-power distress signal. It would drain the cell in under 2 minutes, but those 2 minutes would generate a steady electromagnetic pulse at whatever frequency I set. I twisted the dial to 80 cycles per minute. 80 beats the resting heartbeat of a healthy human adult. The frequency the serpent had hesitated at before, when the cell had been humming at 60. I prayed to gods I didn't believe in, pulled my arm back, and threw it as hard as I could. The cell sailed 30 meters through the darkening air and landed in a spray of glass dust. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the blue light began to pulse in rhythm on, off, and beneath it. The hum rose to an audible thrum that I could feel in my chest. 80 beats per minute, steady, regular, perfect. The serpent froze, head snapping toward the sound. Its mandibles closed partially, and its body language changed, no longer the focused aggression of a hunter closing on prey, but something more cautious, curious. It circled the power cell once, head dipping low, and I saw those bioluminescent patterns inside its throat begin to pulse in response. Blue-green light matching the rhythm of the cell. 80 beats, 80 pulses. A heartbeat the creature recognized as living prey. Then hunger overrode confusion, and the creature struck. It moved like a striking snake, body contracting and then exploding forward in a blur of translucent scales and crystalline teeth. The power cell pulsed faster, 85, 90, the overload making it scream in harmonics that made my teeth ache. The serpent's jaws closed around it with the sound of breaking glass, and for a moment I saw the cell glowing blue-white inside that translucent throat. saw the bioluminescent patterns flare bright in response. Then the cell detonated. The explosion wasn't large, just a flash of blue light and a sharp crack like a capacitor dying, but it was enough. Battery acid sprayed the inside of the serpent's throat, and the creature thrashed, mandibles snapping at the empty air, body whipping back and forth. It dove back beneath the surface in a panic, tearing through the glass crust, chasing the ghost of a heartbeat that no longer existed. I didn't wait to see if it would come back. I ran, 400 meters to the extraction zone. 300. 200. My lungs burned, my legs screamed, my heart hammered at 150, and I didn't care because the serpent wasn't following. I could see the zone ahead, a flat circle of fused obsidian where the survey team had landed 6 months ago, dark against the pale glass, its edges perfectly geometric. 100 meters. 50. The rescue shuttle was descending, engines roaring, landing lights cutting through the dusk. I hit the obsidian at a dead sprint and felt its warmth through my boots, heat retained from the day's sun, radiated back in a steady pulse that felt like safety. I collapsed onto the dark surface and felt my heart rate begin to slow. 140, 120, 100. The shuttle touched down 10 meters away, landing struts flexing, engine wash kicking up glass dust in glittering clouds. The loading ramp extended with a hydraulic hiss, and I saw the pilot silhouetted in the cabin lights a brief nod, acknowledging I was alive, then turning back to the controls. Professional, silent, perfect. I walked up the ramp on legs that felt like water, past the jump seats and strapped myself in. The safety harness clicked into place, and I felt the shuttle vibrate as the engine spooled up for takeoff. Through the viewport, I watched the desert begin its nightly transformation. Cracks spreading like wildfire, whole sections of the plane collapsing into geometric chaos, the whole planet fracturing into a symphony of breaking glass. The serpent breached once more, distant now, attacking a dune that was singing itself to pieces. Then the shuttle lifted, and the glass desert fell away beneath us. I closed my eyes and focused on my breathing. 4 in, hold, 6 out. My heart rate dropped to 90, then 80, then 70. The suit monitor displayed the numbers in cool blue light. 68 BPM, 65 BPM, 62 BPM, resting rate, normal, safe. I opened my eyes and looked at my hands. They were steady, no tremor, no shake. The fear that had driven me across 8 kilometers of singing glass was gone, replaced by something quieter. Not pride, exactly, more like recognition. I'd always known I could control my body under pressure. That was basic training, drilled into every pilot and soldier and explorer who went into the black. But this had been different. This had been learning that control itself could be a weapon, that the frequency of my own heartbeat could mean the difference between life and death. The pilot's voice crackled over the comm. Med check in 10. You hurt? Negative, I said. My voice was steady. Just tired. Copy that. ETA to the ship is 40 minutes. You did good down there. I didn't respond. Through the viewport, Planet Echo was shrinking, becoming just another ball of pale glass against the black. Somewhere down there, the serpent was still hunting sounds in the dark, still following the frequencies that meant food and life. But I wasn't afraid of it anymore. I'd learned its language, learned how to speak in silence and make my fear into something too quiet for monsters to hear. The shuttle climbed through the thin atmosphere and broke into the void. Stars appeared cold and distant and utterly silent. I watched them for a while, counting my heartbeats, and thought about the next mission, the next impossible thing, the next planet where survival would depend on something other than weapons or technology or luck. I smiled, a small private expression that belonged to no one but me. They'd trained me to survive decompression, equipment failure, hostile environments. They'd given me tools and protocols and contingency plans for every scenario they could imagine. But the most important technology hadn't been in my pack or my suit or the emergency gear. It had been inside me all along. The ability to hear the silence, to become the silence, to make my fear into a frequency too quiet for monsters. Next mission, I thought. I knew I could do it, because I'd learned to listen to the one sound that mattered most, the sound of my own stillness.